afternoon, friends and followers of my page over here. My name is Jen Espinosa-Goswami. Welcome to day one of Schedule Your Siesta. I'm so excited you can join me. If you are joining me live, make sure to say hi down below in the comments so I can say hi back and find out who is joining me for this event. Just to let you know, this event is a 3-day event. So today is just day one. You have 2 more days to catch up with me. If today doesn't work out or you find yourself having to drop off, totally okay, because we have 2 more days of deliciousness coming up. And the purpose of this 3-day event is to help you schedule something that's actually pretty fun, because most of us waste our time scheduling a bunch of items that we need to do, but we don't necessarily like or want to do because they help us be more productive or help us achieve our goals or whatever reason is there. Or maybe you just have to schedule them because that's just your family commitments that you have to put in your calendar. But most of the time, it's not something that brings a smile to our face when we schedule something on our calendar. So for the course of the next 3 days, I'm going to talk about why it's important for you to schedule something that makes you go, and feel happy about and look forward to and create some anticipation around it. And in the meanwhile, you're also going to experience the benefits of taking that break in your daytime so that you can rejuvenate, recharge, and feel even more motivated when it comes to those things that are scheduled that you don't like to do. Because they exist and I cannot make them go away, but I can help you look forward to and anticipate your siesta every day so that you do have the energy to get through your day. So that is the purpose of the Schedule Your Siesta live 3-day event. In order to participate and play, comment as often as you want below these videos. If you're watching the replay, I will still respond to your comments, so do not hesitate to comment, like, share this video if it's helpful. It's on my page, so you are able to share it to your timeline. If you want to share it with some friends, you can do that through Messenger. There are opportune amounts of time and energy for you to share this video, because if there's one thing I'm passionate about, it's about feeling your best. And taking a break is part of feeling your best. So this is something I'm very passionate about, and I encourage you to get fired up about this because I am super fired up about it. If this is your first time meeting me, welcome. Welcome to my page. My name again is Jen, and I'm a health coach. I actually help women find their bliss. Usually that's physically, like I help them figure out how to eat better, how to exercise more, all while still enjoying the current daily lifestyle that they have and without a full-time commitment. I am fueled by experiences I've had in my own past with losing 100 pounds. I completed my first half marathon last year at the tender age of 39 years old. So I do know a little bit about how to maximize the opportunities you have within your current life, no matter what that looks like, to really achieve your potential. It is possible for all of us. I'm living proof of that, and it's certainly possible for you. So this week we're having a little bit of fun because we're talking about schedules. Not so fun, but we're also talking about siesta. Ay, ay, ay. So today is all about why take a siesta, what is a siesta, why is it important, and why you should consider taking it even if you feel a certain way about taking a break in the middle of your day. And I am a former hater of taking a break in the middle of the day, so I feel you on that one. If you are a person who currently already takes a siesta, give me a thumbs up or give me a 1 in the comments below this video. If you hate siestas, think that people who take siestas are lazy and shiftless and not someone you want to be, then please put a thumbs down or a 2 in the comments down below here, because I want to hear who you people are, and my challenge to myself is to see if I can convert you, if I can change your mind and persuade you to take a walk on the siesta side with me by Thursday. So every day we're going to go live at 1 o'clock, And we'll finish approximately 1:45, maybe up to 2 if I'm going a little bit long and on my soapbox. But you can join in at any time between 1 p.m. Central Time and 1:45 p.m. Today is our first day. Tomorrow we're also going on, and Thursday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. As you can fully expect from me, it's not just this live event here that you can join virtually at any time that's convenient for you. You also will be getting some free gifts. I do not have the gift today, but I do have some invitations for you today. So every day you'll get either an invitation or a gift, or sometimes both. So that is your motivation and encouragement to join me live. Before we jump into siestas and why they're important, why don't I hear from you? Where are you joining me from? What part of the world or what part of the country are you joining me from? I am currently sitting in my home in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's supposed to be the bold north and fall, but it feels like summer today because we're in the high 80s. The sun is shining. I'm not complaining. I love it, but I'm also not a fan of humidity. I've got asthma. I've got some other things going on there. So humidity is not necessarily my friend. And it's a weird way to start the week of fall, right? That's kind of weird. But that's where I'm coming from. Take a moment and pause. We'll take pauses to let me know where you're joining me live from. Okay, so let's talk about the siesta. Siesta time, siesta time. Okay, what is a siesta? Well, siestas were generally a tradition that comes from Spanish cultures. As you know, Spain is a very hot country. It's closer to the equator than perhaps I am here in the Midwest, but not as close as some tropical countries. But it's close enough that it feels quite warm in the middle of the day. So in Spain, there's also quite a long tradition of having homemade lunches that are big time affairs. So maybe breakfast is not as big a deal in Spain, but lunch is a huge deal. And it's homemade. People go home in the middle of their workday to enjoy this feast basically in the middle of the day. And as you would expect, this feast, a bunch of food, usually rice-based dishes if you're in Spain, gets really heavy, right? And people can't just go straight to work after eating a bunch of food. So they said, well, let's take some break and take a siesta. And siesta actually translates to 6 hour, because typically, the Spanish workday started a little bit later than we do here in the States. I think it averages around 9 a.m., 10 a.m. So the siesta would be the 6 hour after that. Traditionally, siestas in Spain happen between 2 and 5 p.m. And it's typically the hottest part of the day. So again, you've got temperatures going against you. We tend to feel a little more sleepy when it's hot outside. The Spanish folks have a tradition of eating very big, full, and sometimes alcohol supported lunchtime. So that also causes people to feel sleepy and tired. And also in Spanish culture, they tend to have a very active nightlife. And their work day ends a little bit later than we're used to here in the States. So their work day would end around 7 p.m., even as late as 8 p.m. as a typical thing. And so they wouldn't go out to enjoy the nightlife until 9, 10, 11, sometimes staying up as late as 3 a.m. So that kind of lifestyle is best supported by having an afternoon break. Now, the siesta could be anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours. Certainly with modern times, they're not taking 4-hour siestas. The government has been back and forth in terms of how to make their workplace more productive, but it's a slow transition for them. But typically the siesta is approximately 2 hours long so that people can kind of chill out after eating a bunch of really tasty food, avoid the hot sun during the midday afternoon, and just relax. And so I'm taking a page from the book of our Spanish friends out there and saying, why not schedule your own siesta? Before we move on with that idea, hi Anjana, it's really good to see you. I'm curious to hear, do you take a siesta where you are now? I think you're in South Africa, right? Is that right? Is there a practice of taking siesta out there where you live? Sorry, I just noticed my dog over here is taking her own version of a siesta. Dogs and animals are very good about taking siesta. If you go to the zoo, typically most of the big cats and predators will be sleeping in the middle of the day because, they're usually in a very warm country as well. So they're used to sleeping during the day. it's kind of funny how humans are some of the few creatures on Earth that have gotten away from this rest and rejuvenation in the middle of the day because it's kind of biological, for many people, depending on where you live and where you come from. But if it's biological for animals, I mean, we're animals as well. So I just find that very curious. Perhaps Anjana is not able to type. That's okay. Feel free to type your answer when you can, Anjana. So knowing that, modern times don't necessarily allow you to leave in the middle of your workday and take 2 hours to just chill, there have been some accommodations made. But before I get into the accommodations part, which will be really on day 2, different ways you can take siestas, we're going to be focusing on that more tomorrow. But what are some of the benefits of taking a siesta? Because this has been studied, right? If there's certain cultures who are doing it, and Spain is not the only culture, there are some Mediterranean cultures that also take on this practice, maybe to a smaller extent, or they're not as well known for it. But like Greece and certain other countries in that area might decide to take a siesta as well. And a siesta is not just a personal choice. It is actually, businesses will close down to allow people to take that time. So it is government supported, if you will, or it's culturally supported so that businesses have the option to open or close. I'm assuming not too many people are going shopping if they're having a big fiesta in the middle of their day. After the fiesta comes the siesta. So I imagine that it would be in a business's best interest to remain open when most people are not out and about. But again, there's a lot of support culturally and legally for the siesta. Here, where there isn't, it's a different situation. However, regardless of whether there's that cultural support for a siesta, there are other benefits, science and studies that indicate the benefits of a siesta. And here are a few of them. Some of the benefits are reducing stress. If you don't need to reduce stress in your life, then you absolutely do not need to take a siesta. So you can sign off right now, say bye. I'm so glad you joined us. You don't have stress, do you? Maybe you don't have any stress, so you certainly don't need a siesta if you're not feeling any stress. Taking a break is actually an opportunity for our brain to detox. Yes, our brain needs to detox, and it's not always a physical thing. Our brain, when we sleep, if we're taking a sleeping siesta, it has a chance to rejuvenate, replenish, flood our brain with some chemicals when we're resting. That's rejuvenating for us. So that's kind of our brain's way to detox, which causes us to have less stress response, less adrenaline in our bodies, because we're taking the time to not worry and make a decision about fight or flight. Instead, we're just resting and rejuvenating. So it's a single-minded purpose, and some of that purpose allows you to reduce your stress. What other benefits are there to siestas? It helps you from a cardiovascular standpoint with your metabolic health. Our bodies are not designed to be 100% all the time on the go. You see this with professional athletes, like they have their off season and they have their on season. And the same is certainly true from a daily standpoint. The off season might be a quarter versus being on the rest of the year, but there are also daily opportunities for folks to achieve their highest potential. And if you make a living as an athlete, then that's just probably very intuitive for you. You know your body's limits. You know when to push those limits, when not to push them. But part of the program of any fitness-related endeavor is rest. So why not take that rest in the form of a siesta? And athletes certainly incorporate this. If they're training very intensely, they know to build in rest time, because physically our bodies need to recuperate, especially depending on what type of exercise we're doing. So a siesta is important from a physical standpoint. It can actually improve our cardiovascular health. Even folks who are in endurance sports where they're going for 24 hours at a time, even 48 hours at a time, they take benefit of the siesta time after their period of intense endurance training. So there is siesta for them. It may not be on a daily basis, but it still exists because that's how our bodies repair and rejuvenate ourselves. What is another benefit? Studies have shown, especially after a nap in the afternoon, some people take siesta to mean literally you go and rest and shut your eyes and you get some sleep. That can be true. We're going to talk about different ways to siesta tomorrow to make it more applicable to your situation. But right now, one of the benefits of a sleeping siesta is it improves our alertness and it improves our memory. Now, as I'm getting older, because I am getting older, I know that improving my memory is something that is really important to me. I have to keep track of a lot of things, and I off-source or offload a lot of those things on my calendar. So while they're set in stone there, I do sometimes forget things. So my calendar can only do so much. That tool only works for me as much as I can remember to use it. So improving my memory through taking a siesta is my solution for that. And having a daily siesta also gives me an opportunity to pause and review what is next for my day. You know, my day could start at 5 a.m. and it could end at 10 p.m. So that's a really long day. And a siesta gives me a chance to kind of break that day up into chunks that make sense for me. But there are studies that show improvement in memory as well. So if memory loss is something that runs in your family, or cognitive decline is something that you are concerned about or show early signs of, taking a siesta is going to be a very beneficial practice for you. And studies have shown this time and time again. By the way, these benefits were found from I'm going to have to read this because I don't, it's the Spanish Society of Primary Care Physicians. So I'm not just talking some random study that some Joe Schmo came up with. It is from primary care physicians within Spain. So people who have a reason to study the benefits of this because maybe they had to fight for it within their government system to keep it in effect. So, you know, this is a legit study from physicians. However, another thing that I found very interesting is it doesn't just help with all of those things with your stress, with your cardiovascular fitness or overall well-being and your memory, but it also helps you be more efficient and productive. So this is a really important one if you are in a very demanding job or in a type of career that requires you to think, make very strong decisions, requires critical thinking, is something that takes a lot of brain power, then this is important for you to know. There was actually a study done with NASA pilots, so people who are under very high pressure in very intense situations, but this study found that if they took a break of 26 minutes during their work time, so when you think about that, that's typically a lunch break, right? 26 minutes is just under the 30-minute lunch break that many people in our country receive. If pilots took that opportunity to not just eat lunch, but to take a nap, or maybe they ate lunch when they woke up, if they took a nap during that time, their efficiency and their alertness when they had to fly increased by 34%. These are real numbers. This is something that we can measure. This is something that can improve. And this is something that just 26 minutes of taking an afternoon siesta can help you do. So those are the benefits of taking siesta. Now we know that siestas typically last somewhere between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. I want to share with you why this is also a very important time of day. I like to call this time of day the afternoon slump. And I refer to it as the afternoon slump because it is legitimately in the slump of my daytime, because I typically wake up somewhere between 5:30 and 6:30 a.m. every day, including weekends. So by the time we're hitting 2 p.m., I've already been up and awake and doing things for, got to do the math, about 8 hours. So that is a very low energy time for me. And not just for me personally, but if you read the book When by Daniel Pink, he studied this very intensely in this book, and he released a bunch of studies around this. But people typically experience their lowest trough or their lowest slump in the 7 to 8 hours after they first wake up. So again, it depends highly on when you wake up And if you want to share with me, that's totally cool. I'd love to know, what time do you typically wake up every day? This is a question I ask people who are considering working with me and becoming a client of mine. I coach people to really maximize the opportunities they have during their day to establish healthy habits. And part of having healthy habits is understanding where your energy tends to go during the daytime. Not all of us are morning people, and that's fine. But most of us experience some sort of sloth or some sort of dropping off of energy in the afternoon. It could be as late as 2 p.m. or it could be even earlier. It could be noon, depending on what time you typically get up, but it's typically 7 hours after you wake up for your day. I'll let you do the math with that, but if you wake up at 7 a.m., then you're probably experiencing that slowdown in brain activity around 2 p.m. A little bit later if you wake up later than 7 a.m. But I did the math for you. That is your afternoon slump time, which is why it's an opportune time for you to consider taking a siesta. Now, you may have a bunch of objections because you're like, I work. I'm at the office right now. How am I supposed to go sleep for 2 hours? Let's talk about that a little bit more. First of all, there's some myths around a siesta. In Spain, they tend to eat very large lunches in a group setting, and sometimes alcohol is involved. So you would imagine it takes a little more time for you to enjoy that moment and recuperate from that experience than it does for the typical American worker who is sitting at their desk with a little container of their home-packed lunch, or they grab something from the cafeteria and they're scarfing it down in front of their computer. That is a different type of lunch break. So that the length of the siesta you may require to really recharge yourself will be different than someone who's taking a 2-hour break in the middle of their day because they're gathering, they're being social, they're doing more than just eating. I feel like in the US, we have a focus on just eat and get on with your day. And I certainly have experienced this myself. Like, I'm a work-at-home mom, and I'm usually by myself during the day. My dog is here. I have the opportunity to take a siesta, and sometimes a longer siesta if I choose to. I don't often choose to. That's my personal choice. But I do take a type of siesta every day. I'm not saying it's at the same time every day. And we'll talk a little bit about what your personal siesta will look like in tomorrow's video, because there's a lot to go through when it comes to creating your own personal siesta. But my siesta is necessary because, for one thing, I have that afternoon slump like you may be experiencing right now. Maybe you're feeling a little bit low energy. It's really hard for you to focus. Maybe you feel like you want to drink or eat something because that's your body's cue that you need energy of some sort. If I'm working with a health coaching client, I might encourage them to take a movement break instead of a eating break, because our body is asking for energy, and we can get energy from different places. We can get it from action. We can get it from food. We can get it from rest. Those are good ways to get energy. So those are some different suggestions for what a siesta might look like for you. Now, before we jump into that, I want to list one other thing, because a lot of people are very concerned. They're like, well, if I'm like rocking and rolling at my workplace, I'm working hard, nose to the grindstone, I'm getting work done, I don't want to break my stride, right? I don't want to break my momentum. I don't want to break the momentum. If that's how you feel, I'm right there with you. But here's something that might intrigue you, because I'm the person who's like, once I start, I don't like to quit. There's no quitting here. I like to start. I like to finish the same breath that I started. Don't we all, right? That's ideally what happens. But let me share this little factoid with you, because I found this very compelling. The most productive and goal-oriented people, this is another study, the most productive and goal-oriented people typically work intensely. And when I say intensely, I don't mean like they don't breathe. I mean they are focused on a single task for 56 minutes. And guess what happens after that 56 minutes of intense related focus? They then take a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. The most productive and efficient people in the world over time take a break after just 56 minutes of work. So if you're a person who's like, siesta? What are you talking about? I don't have 2 hours in the middle of my already very long day, because then I have to tack on the time at the end of the day. Siestas can be things that happen consistently throughout your day if you have the ability to flex your time in that way. So for example, if you don't anticipate having a 2-hour lunch break at your office, I totally get it. But is there an opportunity for you to take a mini siesta, a smaller chunk of time within your 8-hour day? Well, legally, we are allowed to have a 30-minute break and 2 15-minute breaks. Do you know how many people don't take that one of the 2 15-minute breaks? Quite a few. I almost didn't break when I was in a corporate setting. I sometimes took one of those breaks if I needed to make a phone call, catch up on things. That's not a siesta. A siesta does not involve pulling out your phone and checking your email. A siesta does not involve texting your family, your friends. No, that's not a siesta. Your phone has nothing to do with a siesta. A siesta is a rejuvenating break from your day. If you take it more regularly and cut it into smaller bits of time, it's still a siesta. So those are your top reasons why to take a siesta. What a siesta is not, and ways to incorporate different ideas on how a siesta can be not just a long extended period of time, but how it can be throughout the course of your day. That is what I had to talk with you about today. If you are watching this video, let me know what questions you have. For example, if you're like, well, Jen, I'm not sure I know that a siesta is good for me, or I'm not sure I understand what makes a good siesta versus what makes a bad siesta. Let me know what your questions are and I will get to them. And if necessary, I will also be sharing articles, science, and research to support what we're talking about today, because I don't want you to think that I'm just spouting nonsense off the top of my head. I always do my research ahead of time, and I encourage you to do the same as well. Because research, well, I'm giving you the research, but you can certainly do your own research to validate that if that's the kind of person you are, and I respect that. So, but I will be giving you support behind everything that I share, the studies, all that sort of thing. I've quoted a couple of resources, Daniel Pink's book called When. I've quoted the Spanish Society of Primary Care Physicians. And I'm sure I will quote some other things. But I also have an invitation for you. I mentioned that I will either have a gift or an invitation every day. And today's gift is an invitation. So next week on Tuesday, September 24th, a colleague of mine, Lois Joseph, and I will be presenting a special evening where we're going to be talking about procrastination and how to turn your inaction and your chronic procrastination into action and commitment so you can move forward towards your goals. So if you're someone who's been procrastinating on certain tasks, certain goals, certain passions of yours, then this is the perfect evening for you. Again, I live in the Twin Cities area. We will be presenting in Linden Hills. There's a community bank location there. It's a beautiful space. You will enjoy it. It will be 6:30 p.m. in the evening. And included with this workshop, so it's a workshop, it's $15 to attend, but we give you a code for $5 off. I'll put those details in the comments by this video in the resources. We will be going, it's a 60-minute presentation. Lois and I will tag team you on reasons why we procrastinate. Because you might be watching this video and saying, I procrastinate on rest and siesta. That thing doesn't even exist in my life, but I would like it to exist in my life. Then we will help you figure out strategies, because there's quite a variety of strategies. We just practiced this morning. We're gearing up for this presentation. It's going to be beautiful and wonderful, and I really hope you can join us. But we'll go over specific reasons. Why do we procrastinate? You might suspect you know already some of these. Some of them will be new to you, though. We'll go over some of the top reasons that people in general tend to procrastinate, and you will have an individual action plan where you can identify first the things that you tend to procrastinate on, because it may not be the same for all of us, the reasons why you in particular procrastinate on those things, and then we're going to come up with very specific action steps to help you get past that, to help you shortcut through the procrastination, to help you prevent it, to make sure it's not a reality in your life, because if it's there, it might be frustrating you. And you probably observe that it's happening as it's happening, but you feel powerless to do anything about it. Then you must be joining me and Lois next week, Tuesday evening, for Procrastinate, because we're going to make a date with your destiny and help you get past this procrastination that has been holding you back from your best life. Of course, I'm a health coach, so I will be talking through the lens of my of healthy habits. Lois is a leadership expert, so she will help you with self-management, self-leadership, personal growth. That's kind of her zone of genius. So we were just loved this idea of collaborating, and we invite you to attend with us. If you are not in the Twin Cities area, I apologize, we are not taking this virtual yet, but there will be other gifts for you tomorrow for day 2 of Schedule Your Siesta. And tomorrow, we kind of briefly talked about a few of them, but tomorrow we're talking about specific types of siestas you can incorporate into your day and what that might look like. As I've mentioned a couple of times, depending on what your typical day looks like, scheduling 2 hours of time where you do nothing may not work out so well for you. So we'll talk a little bit about what it means to do nothing. What are some things you can do that aren't nothing, that still rest and rejuvenate you, because that's the purpose. It's taking a break. It's not taking a phone break. It's not taking a break so you can focus your energies on something else. It's not multitasking. It's taking a break. So we'll talk about different ways you can siesta tomorrow at 1 p.m., again on this page. And in the meanwhile, tell me, I really want to hear from you. If you could choose to take a 2-hour siesta, 2 hours minimum, what would you choose to spend that time on? Time is so precious. In my opinion, it's perhaps more precious than money. We can always earn more money. We can't earn any more time. Time is a finite resource. Money can always be earned. So in my opinion, what we spend our time on is what dictates our life. And so if you had 2 hours of siesta time, what would you choose to do with it? I can't wait to see your responses. Weigh in below this video. Anytime between now and tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central Time, I will respond to you. I will cheer you on, because would it be for us to gain back our day, and gain it not just by adding more things to our pile. Our pile is this big already. We don't need more things on our pile. We need to take advantage of the opportunity to schedule our siesta. So don't forget to join me live on this page right here. I might even wash my hair tomorrow. That was too much sharing. I apologize for that. But join me tomorrow and we'll talk specifically about different ways you can siesta. There's not a single way to achieve anything, certainly not a single way to achieve your personal idea of a siesta. In the meanwhile, don't forget to weigh in on what would you do with 2 hours of additional time for your personal siesta. What would that look like for you? In the meanwhile, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Don't forget to take a 5-minute siesta today if you can. And tomorrow I'll help you figure out what that might look like. And day 3, we're talking more about happen. That's where the rubber is going to meet the road, folks. And meanwhile, don't forget to check out my event next. I'll pop the link for that. It's called Procrastinate. I'm presenting with Lois Joseph. She's a leadership expert. We're going to get this done, people. We're going to help you put it in writing so that it's not just a dream, it's a plan. In the meanwhile, I look forward to hearing your comments and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.